Today we're going to walk through this listing of a 2017 Lagoon 42, basically the newer version of what we're on, a Lagoon 410, maybe a teensy bit bigger. And this is a very common boat people might consider living on. So let's do a walkthrough. Let's see what this boat's got going on for it with regard to Liveaboard quality of life. So this is priced at $384,000 for this. We're on YachtWorld here. First things first, I guess let's look at some of the specs before we get into the pictures. As we dive into this real quick, we're talking about Liveaboard comfort, not necessarily sailing characteristics. Every single boat that is on the market is going to have some trade-offs, some good, some bad things about them. These chats are specifically for Liveaboard comfort because you probably already know what kind of boat you're aiming for. Let's look at the specifics of these kinds of boats and see how they're going to do. So 3000 watt inverter, this is good. This is the heart of your power for your non-DC power. Deck wash, extra fridge, nice fridge, freezer, and galley, top loading fridge, freezer. 65-pound rocknet anchor. So this is part of Liveaboard comfort, rocknet anchor. I looked at it. This vessel, let's see, how heavy is it? 12 tons. So we got here on the SAM boat for a Lagoon 42, same style boat. It's saying 12 tons. So if we go to the rocknet site, because it was a rocknet anchor, it's a 42-foot vessel. So we'll go up a size because it says specifically up here for multi-holes, use the charge instructed in size. One size larger. It's about a 40-foot vessel, but 46 is basically a size larger. So, I mean, 40-foot vessel at 12 tons, and it was a rocknet 33, I think. 65 pounds. That's a good anchor for this boat. You want a solid anchor to sleep on. It does say a washer dryer, fairly new. Lithium batteries, 1200 amp hours lithium batteries. I did look at the pictures before. We're going to talk about this. A desolator water make, I don't know the name brand, 29 gallon per hour is respectable. And sail drive seals, new sail drive seals, this is a big pain. So that's good that they're new. So this is a big one here. This is a 230 volt, well actually it's not as big as it seems, but it's important to note. 230 volt vessel, so European voltage. This is less of a problem than you think. You will have some appliances that you want to bring aboard that are going to be 12 volt appliances. You can add extra electrical equipment to either invert straight from the batteries to 110, and then you just add like a 110 outlet and say your galley if you have whatever, your favorite coffee maker, that's 110 volt. This isn't a huge problem, especially since most of the equipment all the equipment that's on the boat will be already rigged for 230 volt. Maybe getting some replacements if you stick close to the US might be hard, but this also frees you up for going to 230 volt marinas if you want to. 2,000 watts solar panel, not bad. And a Victron multi-plus inverter charger, that's what we have. I guess one thing important about this is you would want to make sure if you're staying close to the US as you get settled into Liveaboard life that you're able to charge your boat from the dock. So this, you might need to add another charger, a 110 volt charger, and then basically you charge your boat from shore power and then run off of your lithium battery bank. It's not a big deal. It's maybe a little bit of a hassle. But let's see, what else we got here? Electric winch, self-tacking jib, electric windlass, fender's docks, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so let's look, how many beds does it have? It's a 4 cabin, 4 head. So this is a pretty big form factor decision. Our boat came as 4 cabin, 4 head. We converted our boat to a owner's version, which is 3 cabins, 2 heads. I don't recommend doing that. It was way too much work. 4 cabins, 4 heads. If you're just a couple, you might think, oh, well, we want the owner's version. The owner's version is nice, but a lot of times they're hard. Owner's versions where one whole hull is just 1 cabin, 1 head, lots of storage. It is nice, but we've had friends on other 4 cabin, 4 head boats, and there's ways to work 4 cabin, 4 head boats where you basically take 1 head and make it a toilet head, and then the other head, you make it a shower head. So you're never having a wet toilet, and you're kind of separating the shower, the steam, from the toilet experience, and that works pretty good. And then the extra V-berth, usually that is the extra head, or cabin rather, you can use as storage. It's a pretty workable thing. We bought 4 cabin, 4 head, and in retrospect, we didn't. I'm glad we did the conversion. I like our boat, but I would maybe reconsider some of our changes given how much work it was. So let's dive into the pictures here. It's got a single air conditioner salon. That's probably not enough for the entire boat. For climate control, we'll see how big it is. Hard top bimini, that's nice. That's just vanity stuff. Electric head, salt water. This one, the trade-off here is you use less fresh water, but saltwater heads have some of their own challenges. You'll have to learn how to use a saltwater head versus a freshwater head. They basically need to be flushed regularly, or else the salt water that's, especially on a boat like this, 4 cabins, 4 heads, the heads that aren't getting used are going to have that salt water has stuff in it that's alive, you know, bacteria and all that stuff. And when the salt water gets trapped for a while, it will die, and that will smell, and that'll eventually work its way into the sanitation hoses for the heads, and the heads tend to stink. Saltwater heads are fine if you flush them a lot and you don't let the salt water, quote unquote, die in the hoses. It's not that hard to replumb your heads to be freshwater heads. So this is something you might consider with a boat like this, where you have 4 heads. If you're not using all 4, you might choose to replumb the ones that aren't getting used a lot as fresh water. Okay, so let's dive into the pictures here. Got a nice picture of it sailing. I already watched the video. We're not gonna walk through the video here. I just don't want the audio stepping on my audio. So nice vanity shots of it sailing. We will see here that again, we're not gonna talk too much about the architecture of the boat, but it does have low bridge deck clearance here compared to some other cats and many cats. It makes it easy to get in and off the boat, but it does a couple things. If you have big following waves, the waves will come up into the cockpit. That's definitely going to happen. And if you're smashing into the waves at all, you're going to get more bridge deck slap. Even if you're anchored or moored, some people think that the bridge deck slap, so waves coming under, smacking, is only an issue you have to worry about while underway, but that's not the case. You can actually get it even in marinas or on moorings or anchor if you've got waves coming in that are kind of steep. Not the end of the world, you just kind of learn to live with it. And there's that big 2,000 watt solar panel back there, a fixed solar panel, and this is kind of nice because it offers a little bit more shade for the cockpit and a little bit more protection, solar protection for the dinghy. Now we have all these pretty shots of the sailing rigging, sure. Trampoline, this is personal preference, but I just think that this style trampoline is very uncomfortable to walk on and doesn't feel very supportive. There's other styles of trampolines. It's not a deal breaker per se, but not my favorite style trampoline. Self-tacking jib, that's nice. Roller furler. Here's your windlass. We're not going to go full survey. Okay, so here we have our helm station. There does look to be this skirt right here, maybe even 2 levels of enclosure. It's hard to tell without it hooked up, but this is for a helm station enclosure. This seat looks very uncomfortable. Helm stations are almost always uncomfortable on these production style cats. They're outside, they don't have a ton of padding. It's probably okay for a while, but if you're gonna spend 12 hours on the ICW, you might reconsider something here. Let's see, next. Propane galley. Propane is it uses less power, obviously, but you have to source propane. That can be a bit of a hassle in the Bahamas. I wouldn't say you need to tear this out or this is a deal breaker, but you might choose to get like an induction cook plate that you use, you know, when power is abundant and you don't feel like using propane. The motors, they look fairly well clean. Here is the enclosure material for the helm station, and this definitely looks UV rotted. At least some of them look UV rotted, so this is going to need to be replaced. An enclosure is kind of a luxury item, but makes life a lot nicer. There's your propane. Engine access is in the sugar scoops here. This way it is with a lot of modern boats. From inside the vessel, it looks like underneath maybe a bunk, storage, raw water strainer for something. Looks like maybe a water maker. Bilge. Yeah, this is the bilge. Personal preference, paint the bilges white so it's easier to see what's going on. Yeah. Paint them white for sure. Water heater looks like, or accumulator tank. It's hard to tell. I can tell power's running to it. Might be a water heater. Power station, there's your Victron stuff right there. Victron. That's all good. Storage is nice to have. This is a self-contained inverter, Frigomar. This is a smaller inverter that looks like it's maybe being used. I'd have to look this up. It's not a terrible idea to have a smaller inverter that stays on all the time and uses less power and keeps things on that you want to stay on, like your Starlink and TV and computer chargers and stuff like that. But I'm not 100% sure. You'd have to look more into that. Okay, this looks to be more bilge stuff. This is a big gripe I have. This is a safety concern. Our boat had this issue. All of these seatcocks right here, the things that the through hole is the fitting that goes through the hole, and the seatcock is this valve that attaches to it that you can turn it on and off. And Lagoon is pretty notorious, not just Lagoon, some of the other brands too, the production boats. This fitting should have a backer plate to it and a more robust like attachment to the backer plate. We've replaced every single one of our, and they also look corroded here. They're probably made out of brass, which also isn't great. This is a safety issue. We basically treated our through holes like dynamite. We didn't touch them, like unstable dynamite, right? We didn't touch them. We were scared of them, and we replaced them when we could. 4 cabins, 4 heads does mean typically that you're gonna have a lot of through holes. And we actually took out many of our through holes as we did our conversion process, and the ones we replaced with Marilon or True Design ones that are plastic and have proper backing plates. This is like, if you accidentally fall into the bilge when you're working on it and kick this sideways, you could end up, especially since these are corroded, breaking this, and then you have a hole in your boat that you need to stick a bung in and go get hauled out to fix. This is just, that's not good. It is fixable though. It's very fixable. More bilge. Solar controller. Okay. I did want to talk about this. This battery, 1200 amp hours, is a lot of power, and that is one of the very important considerations for having a comfortable liveaboard experience, is being able to store your power to use it when you want to use it. And the wiring situation here looks pretty respectable. We have these like solid metal bus bars. I'm not a wiring expert. I've done all of our wiring on our boat, and I'm pretty happy with its safety, but this looks like a homemade battery bank, which I know is popular for some people to do. You save a lot of money, blah, 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 but then there's the concerns of being a homemade battery bank. 1200 amp hours, that's a good bit. If I were considering buying this boat, I would probably want to get a lithium expert to inspect this battery bank, because obviously you don't want a bad lithium build to burn your boat down. Lithium iron phosphate is pretty safe, but still, homemade with a mission critical system requires that you have an expert look at it and verify that it's properly done. And with all the Victron stuff around, I mean, it's a little bit weird that they would have splurged on the Victron stuff for these smart shunts, which these are kind of extra. You don't need smart shunts to have, or these smart buses. You don't really need smart buses to have a safe setup, and these cost money. So why spend the money on these but not spend the money on Battleborn or Victron or, you know, A-tier battery brands? Maybe because it was from Europe. I don't know. The back of the boat, life raft, side of the boat. I will note that it looks like we see this enclosure skirt here. I'm not seeing enclosure or anything for the cockpit. Maybe it exists, maybe it doesn't. When it comes to comfort, having a cockpit enclosure is pretty nice. A lot of boats, it basically doubles your effective salon space. This is one of our next big projects, is building an enclosure for ourselves. This bag looks a little ratty. They should have cleaned that up before taking pictures. Okay, to be fair, they probably took this boat out for a sail before taking pictures, and then they just didn't finish putting it away. This is a crash locker, pretty clean. Okay, so this is a water maker. Looks like a very similar kind of water maker of what we have. I don't like how corroded and messed up it is. It's good that the boat has it. And I said before, it's easier to fix, service, clean up existing equipment than it is to install a whole brand new system. So even though this water maker looks like it might either need servicing, cleanup, or the system already exists. The plumbing's already there. So worst case scenario, you're talking about a new high pressure pump, maybe, and I mean, maybe new membranes. This looks like it might fuel. This is a little generator. I don't know. Did it say how much the generator was? I don't see anything about a generator. So the fact that they're not listing the generator probably means that it's either way undersized or they're embarrassed by it. I don't know, but it seems to have some sort of generator. He said in the video too that you can use the generator to run the water maker, and maybe that's the whole idea. That's the sole purpose for it. Generator, water maker, good. Maybe you're going to have to consider upgrading your generator by a lot if the solar panels aren't cutting it for you. A nice big cockpit, looks pretty clean. Teak floors look in okay shape. So far, this boat, aside from some of the electrical quirks with the 230 volt system and maybe the homemade lithium battery bank, is pretty good. Oh, and the saltwater heads. I would replace the saltwater heads with the freshwater. Looks like they are electric heads. That's nice. Manual heads are a pain, not very comfortable. Very small sink. I mean, that's what you get when you have 4 cabin, 4 heads. The heads themselves tend to be quite small. But you look at this, even this mirror doesn't have like the corrosion around the edge. So it's been well taken care of. V-berth cabin, probably. It looks like this head even has a separate standing shower, which is nice. Let's look at here's the floor plan. Okay, so yeah, the V-berth head is just a toilet, and the aft cabin head has a separate shower. And so you might even use just the forward head as your own, as the toilet. If you didn't have anybody living on this side, you could have this as just the toilet head. It makes it easier for guests to come aboard too when you have an extra berth lying around. Okay, so closet space. This looks like, yeah, we've done the same thing in our boat. The hanging closets are end up being a kind of a waste of space. They installed, you can see it right here, these metal brackets. They installed some after DIY shelving space because it's just easier to fold things. Just looking through, I mean, these are pretty nice sized beds too. Floating island beds makes it a little easier to make the bed, get on and off. I'm sure maybe lose a little bit of storage with this empty space here. Big windows, they got curtains, so that helps because it can be quite bright sometimes. Good hatch for ventilation. This side of the bed needs a fan because this side has a fan and ventilation, but this doesn't. Easy fixes though, very easy fixes. Inside electrical stuff, so the Garmin, for backup comms, B&G, radio, this all looks pretty good. Nice, clean, more storage. You have your pole in the middle of the salon. That's just a design of the vessel. Not all catamarans have that. I don't think it's make or break. Your escape hatch, so both holes will be mirrored. This boat, okay, interesting. We've had friends who've done this exact thing, put a washer dryer machine in one of the heads, probably European, and this feels like it's just a washer. I don't know if it said, not a dryer too. Let's see, just washer dryer. Okay, so good. I mean, talking about liveaboard comfort, being able to wash and dry your clothes is definitely a perk. Let's get back. You'll see, yeah, one thing I like to pay attention to is the quality of how clean is the boat. We saw that the lockers forward of the bridge deck and the forward part of the bridge deck just behind the trampoline, they had looked like kind of some corrosion and those are more to the weather, so it makes sense. You see a little bit of corrosion here, a little bit of gunk in the corner, but nothing is like screaming bad to me at all. The finish work on all of these walls is nice and pretty in shape. You'll see little nicks here and there, but so that's telling me that this boat either was very, very lightly used. I think in the video he said it was chartered, so it's in pretty good shape for having been chartered. And then after it was chartered, the owners sailed it around themselves. We had the same exact problem with the same exact cover here. The retracting thing doesn't work very well, and the stupid blinds. I think this Lumar makes this. Maybe this isn't Lumar, but somebody needs to invent a better version of these. So you'll probably want to replace this. And this stupid, it's got a screen on one side for bugs and a sunblock on the other side, and it's very expensive. It's like $150 for this stupid piece of plastic, and it breaks very easily. But you'll want a new one of those. Same problem here. You need a fan on this side. This side of the bed's getting all the air, this side's not. Okay, so this is the salon. A lot of times in these boat pictures, they use fisheye cameras just because it's hard to get anything else. This is making this wall look very large. I think that's just a fisheye camera effect here. You can tell, for comfort's sake, this is pretty nice. These cushions aren't too bad. And then, actually, a comfort question. These beds kind of look like stock beds to me, which means you're going to want to replace the beds if you buy this boat with probably a new bed. Now, it can be tricky because the shape here is not a normal bed shape. So there's a couple ways to go about it. You can get new beds that are custom dimensions. Like you could take the measurements and send it, and the people will make them for you. Or you can, some places will sell like island berth beds already that might be close enough, but not a perfect fit. You can also make your own bed by cutting the foam. That's a bigger DIY endeavor for sure. Or maybe just get a mattress topper, a foam mattress topper that you cut. But if these are the stock beds that came with the boat, they are probably not comfortable. Most stock boat beds are not. They're kind of overly firm and just not a high budget thing. There's something where the manufacturers skimp on. And the same can be true of salon cushions. These look maybe like 4-inch cushions, maybe 5-inch cushions. Okay, probably, but if they're getting old, you might end up wanting to replace them because it's no fun to sit. I speak from experience. It's no fun to sit on cushions where you can feel the hard ground underneath. And this table here probably has a insert that you can swap out, so it doesn't have to be a table all the time. You can get yourself a little bit more of that living space back. This ottoman, this seat is probably fixed here. Although on our boat, again, similar style boat, we just tore that out to give us more room. But I'm not recommending you tear stuff out of your boat. Station, galley, it's an okay galley. You got some good room here for adding your appliances. I don't see a ton of storage, so I'm guessing that the storage is actually in here in this center thing. And they have not, maybe they did show the air conditioner. Maybe the one, so with regard to comfort, air conditioning is obviously important. Let's find that air conditioner. Is this it? Frigomar BLDC. Okay, this looks similar. What is this? Air conditioning. Okay, this is air conditioning. So the BTUs, that's how much heat it can add or remove from the air. I feel like the photos kind of gloss over the air conditioner here. So this is a little bit of a red flag. If you had high quality air conditioning, you'd be showing it off. So this is a big question mark to my mind about air conditioning on this vessel. Let's see if it says, yeah, single air conditioner in salon, and that's the only thing they say about it. Okay, so all in all, how are we feeling about this boat? It's got some good to it. It's definitely, the boat seems to be in very good shape, especially for having previously been a charter. The solar panel is pretty nice. I like that's got a lot of Victron stuff in it. Hot water heater, electric heads, that's nice. It's got Starlink on it, that's good. All new. As a functional vessel, this boat seems very functional. With regard to comfort, what are the big takeaways? And then some of the safety things too. The through holes and seacocks and the bilge, I think all need to be replaced with better, safer ones. I would also paint the bilges white so you can see what's going on in there, and maybe my guess is that the bilge system is probably inadequate with regard to having an alarm, and I don't know if the pumps are sized appropriately. With regard to the boat itself, I would have somebody look at what it looks like a DIY, or at least a homemade lithium battery bank. The air conditioning system seems suspicious to me, like it might not be as functional as you want it to be. For the 220 volt system, if you're going to buy this and then live on it in the United States for a while, you're going to want to make sure that you can charge this from the United States 110 volt shore power, and you might need a new inverter just to handle your 110 volt appliances. The beds probably need at least some padding or something on top of them. I mean, you buy it and see, but a lot of times the beds need to be replaced on a boat to make them more comfortable. The washer dryer was a nice plus to have on the boat. Yes, shoved into one of those extra heads, and then, but that's fine. And then lastly, it was saltwater heads, and with the smell in the saltwater heads can be a real thing. So you would want to probably, at least for the heads that are being used less commonly, like just disconnect them and drain them, or set them up to be freshwater heads. And then it had a really nice, for sleeping on the boat, having a good ground tackle system with electric windlass. This is really good. According to it says Mantis. I thought it was Rachna. Either way, they're basically the same. I mean, they will say that they're not, but they're very, very similar design anchors. So it's Rachna, it's not Mantis. But it's good. According to the Rachna website, this is completely adequate for this size vessel as a multi-hull. So it's a good boat. Now, when it comes to pricing, you'll have to compare it with other boats, but the considerations here aren't that far off. I would consider this boat. My biggest hesitations for me, if I were in the market for a boat like this, and I was okay with a 4-cabin 4-head version. Some people just want owner's version, and that's fine. But if I'm okay with considering a 4-cabin 4-head version, then my biggest question marks are going to be around the electrical system and the climate control system. So there you go. That is a Lagoon 42, considered through the eyes of liveaboard lifestyle and liveaboard comfort. I can do one-on-one sessions like this for boats that you're considering. The link for working with me is down below in the description. And yeah, I'm gonna do many more of these style videos. It's fun walking through and imagining what it would be like to live on these different boats. So thanks for watching this video. Link to get in contact with me is in the bio, and we'll see you in the next video.